What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Inside Inter Miami, the Miami Herald show about all things Inter Miami. I'm your host, Andre Fernandez, Deputy Sports Editor at the Herald, joined as always by our Inter Miami beat writer, Michelle Kaufman. Big, busy first week, eventful first week, some ups and downs for the team that we're going to look at, starting with that frozen tundra game that started the Champions Cup first leg against Sporting Kansas City, which Michelle bundled up for in spirit this time, not literally in the -5 degree or whatever it was in Kansas City, -12 actually at kickoff. But we'll talk about that. We'll go over the result in that one, which Javier Mascherano, new Inter Miami coach, called the conditions inhumane. That's how bad it was. But they got through it. Then, not so good an MLS opener against NYCFC. We'll talk about just some of the things that happened there. A little bit of a contentious game that led to some fines to Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez. Michelle will explain what went into that, but a rebound 3 days after that as Inter Miami has advanced in the Champions Cup thanks to a dominant performance in the second game over Kansas City. We'll go over that victory, and then we'll look ahead to what's next. What's next? The round of 16 in the Champions Cup, as now Inter Miami will have a trip to Jamaica in store as part of it, and we'll look at their next game in the MLS season, which comes next Sunday at Houston. And Michelle will have some updates on key players as they're trying to battle their way back from injury. And that goalkeeper situation is very interesting as well. So we'll go a little bit over that. But Michelle, you are right now figuratively in the tundra. Take us through the frozen game.
Oh, yes, the frozen tundra game. Yes. Well, I brought my gloves. I had my scarf. I brought some gloves along for that game. That game was crazy. I was cold just watching it on TV. It was -12 wind chill. At the start of the game, you could see, the smoke was coming out of every player's mouth with every breath. You could see how cold it was. They were wearing multiple layers. They were wearing leggings. It was really cold. Every player, even the Kansas City players, said that it was the coldest they had ever played in. Nobody had ever played a game in that temperature. And, you know, I have to say at the beginning, I remember last week we talked about that there had been some talk about, oh, Messi won't play in these conditions. And there were rumors that he wouldn't play. Not only did he play, he scored the only goal in that game. I mean, this man continues to impress. At age 37, he's still doing things that I'm sure he's never scored in -12. I think he can add that to his collection of accolades. Scored a goal in sub-zero temperature. Check. Check that off the list for Lionel Messi. The man has achieved everything there is to achieve in the sport, including scoring in -0 weather. He really is incredible. A guy of his stature to go not only play in that game, but to play well and to score. And, they were able to get the win even with just 1-0. It was quite impressive. It's hard to judge a team in those conditions, but what you can judge is their heart and their spirit and the fact that, whether it was their best game or not, tactically or technically, the fact that they were able to supersede the home team in those conditions. That's a team that had been training in cold weather. Miami had been training in 80-degree weather. They literally flew to Kansas City and dropped 90 degrees from what they had been training in. They dropped 90 degrees and were still able to pull out a win, and Lionel Messi scores a goal. It was pretty amazing when you look back on it.
Yeah, pretty amazing to get through all of that. It looked like one of those NFL playoff games in the middle of January where it's bitter and nasty. It looked like the Chiefs were playing instead of Sporting Kansas City. But they got through it, and that was just the first leg. But then 3 days later, they come home, Michelle, and obviously not as good of a result. A pretty tumultuous game when you look at it, both on and off the field.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to throw in here that Inter Miami attempted to move the game to Sunday because since they moved the Champions game from Tuesday to Wednesday, they got home at 5 a.m. on Thursday. Their plane arrived at 4 a.m., which means the players got back to their homes at 5 a.m. on Thursday morning. and they have their season opener is 48 hours away. Obviously, the coaching staff gave them the day off on Thursday. Well deserved after playing in those conditions and taking a flight from Kansas City to Fort Lauderdale, arriving to their homes at 5 in the morning. They had the day off on Thursday. So they really only had Friday to train. They had one day to train, which is usually a recovery day. The first day after a game is, recovery day. They really just had one day, Friday, to train for their season opener. Meanwhile, NYCFC was not in that situation. NYCFC got to practice the whole week for their season opener and gear up for their season opener. And I'm not making excuses. I'm just making explanations that if Miami looked a little bit tired or a little bit off in that season opener, there are reasons because it ended up that there were 2 injuries in the first half, muscular injuries, Fafa Pico and Cello Wygant. And Mascherano was not shy, did not mince words, and said, this may have been a factor. This may have been a result of squeezing these games in so soon after the other game. And you have to give players rest. And he said, the players are not robots. He repeated it. The players are not robots. These are human beings. And he said again that the conditions in Kansas City were inhumane. And for them to not only play in inhumane conditions, but then have to play their season opener, an important game on Saturday, was really very difficult. Inter Miami had appealed to the league to move the game to Sunday. And then, so they would have an extra day to rest. And then even there was talk about maybe moving the second Champions game to Wednesday, since they played last Wednesday. They could have played Wednesday, Sunday, Wednesday. And their next game now is against Houston on Sunday. But anyway, they were denied. They were denied by the league. I know it's complicated with Apple TV, with all the things they have planned. They had to play the game on Saturday. So they moved it 5 hours to nighttime. It was supposed to be at 2:30. They moved it to 7:30. That was the only concession they got. So anyway, they arrived at that game a little bit spent, which is, understandable. And they end up at the beginning, Miami scored early in the first 5 minutes. Lionel Messi once again delivers an assist to Toto Aviles, a defender, scores the first goal in the 5th minute of the MLS season. Everything looks like it's going well. But then the same Toto Aviles gets thrown out. He gets thrown out with a red card for basically a foul it wasn't so much the foul. It was that he yanked on a shirt. He yanked on the player's shirt. And in doing so, the referees ruled that he impeded a potential scoring chance. So he gets thrown out in the 23rd minute of the game. He gets thrown out in the 23rd minute, and things got really testy after that. First of all, the Inter Miami players, probably felt that was unjustified, even though the referees later ruled, gave us an explanation after to the reporters that it was deserving of a red card. But he gets thrown out, and then New York City equalizes, and almost immediately equalizes after they get a guy thrown out, because they get a little disorganized. They get scored upon. And then there was a big controversy right before halftime, because Luis Suarez gets fouled just before halftime. And they all thought the guy who fouled him was on a yellow card already. If he had gotten a second yellow, he would have been ejected. And then it would have been 10 against 10. Instead, the referee decided not to give him a yellow. And Luis Suarez went crazy. Messi went crazy. Busquets, they all started arguing. And then the halftime whistle blows. And after the halftime whistle blows, Suarez is still arguing with the ref and arguing with the players from NYCFC. And he touches a guy on the back of the neck, the opposing player from NYCFC. Kind of, I won't say grab. I know a lot of the stories say grabbed. It's a little aggressive.
One of those little
grab. Yes, a little squeeze in the back of the neck, like, hey, buddy, hey, buddy. It's not like he grabbed him by the throat.
Yeah, it's
like
one of those little,
on the neck.
yeah, that people
Yes,
sometimes do.
little grab, a little squeeze grab on the back of the neck to make a point, but you're not allowed to do that.
Right.
It is against the rules to
Right.
touch face or neck or head. That is against the rules. So anyway, now we're at halftime. There's already been all this drama because this is Inter Miami. There has to be drama. You know, this season is only 1 week old. We've already had controversies with the weather, with the moving of the game, inhumane conditions. They want to move the game again. They can't move the game. Now they get a guy tossed in the 23rd minute of the season. Then the other guy does not get tossed. So the Miami guys get all upset. Anyway, second half goes, they go ahead. NYCFC goes ahead. It looks like Miami's going to lose. They keep trying. They keep trying. It looks like they're going to lose. And then in the 100th minute, they ended up playing 105 minutes in that game. 105 minutes. Messi stayed in to the bitter end. Again, incredible for someone, you know, of his age and stature that he stayed in 105 minutes. In the 100th minute, he delivers a beautiful assist to Talasco Segovia, the new Venezuelan player, and he chipped it in over the goalkeeper. A beautiful shot for the new kid from Argentina, from Venezuela. The Venezuelans are very proud of him. So anyway, he scores. Miami ties it up in the closing seconds, and then, as if that's not dramatic enough, how about some more drama? Lionel Messi, fired up as always. He starts after the game, has a few words to share with the referee about his opinion of how the game was officiated. And then one of the NYCFC assistant coaches said something. Messi goes over and has some words with him. And again, the neck grab to the back of the neck of the NYCFC assistant coach. So anyway, at this point, that goes viral, as everything does now. You can't touch a guy by the neck when you're Lionel Messi, and that's not going to go viral. It went viral. And then yesterday, MLS they announced that both players were fined. Lionel Messi was fined and Luis Suarez was fined. They were both fined for violating the touching head, neck, face of opponent rule. So that's just the second game of the season now. A
Well,
lot of drama.
when you're Lionel Messi, your every move is scrutinized. Whether you touch a player by the neck, every little thing. So of course, that's going to get plastered everywhere, and that's going to go viral. Anything, especially something like that. And if it happens twice in a game,
first time. Yeah, twice in a game, and it's those two guys who are the biggest stars. And
right?
Messi had never been fined since he arrived in MLS in 2023. So this was news. This was a headline. Messi fined for grabbing, touching, holding assistant coach's neck. It was not a good look. Javier Mascherano was asked about it, by the way, before the fine, but he was asked after the game about the guys losing their tempers. And he said, look, to understand a player's emotions at this level, you have to have played the game. You have to be on the pitch to understand. He was kind of saying that the media and the fans, without saying it, he was saying that the media, and the fans don't understand the emotions, the height of the emotions that the players reach during a game. And especially, he said, when you feel that the referee made an egregious error, that the players sometimes they have trouble controlling their emotions. But he said, in Argentina, we say, what happens on the field stays on the field. It's like what we say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. In Argentina, I
referring to
guess
very different things, though.
Yes, what happens on the field stays on the field. And he said, once the game is over, everything is forgotten and everybody moves on. But the MLS has rules. They broke the rules. And so, they had to be fined. They would fine other players for doing the same thing. And they had to fine Messi and Suarez. It was warranted. But yeah, there was a lot of drama in that second game.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we want to talk about what happened next with the second leg of the Champions Cup, but this situation is going to continue because, as we know, they advanced. So you're only going to have more matches in a condensed time frame, more of these, 3 days, 4 at the most off. So this team's going to have to handle things that happen. I mean, granted, some of this might have been a little more uncommon in the sense of so much happening at the same time in a heated game, but you're going to come back from things. You're going to be tired. You're going to be frustrated if calls don't go your way. This team needs to handle it because, as we're saying, they come back, though, to their credit, a dominant performance in the second leg. They scored 3 first-half goals, 2 in stoppage time right before the half. They handle their business. They beat up on Sporting Kansas City 3-1. They take the overall 4-1, and off they go into the round of 16, where now they're going to face Cavalier, the team, a club from Jamaica, in the round of 16. But let's talk about that good turnaround for them. Both Messi and Suarez both scored, and Tadeo Allende got a goal as well.
Yeah, I mean, they played really, really well. I mean, they came out ready. Let me just say that there was no need for scarves, no need
No,
for gloves. It was
leave
69
that at home.
degrees, which for us was kind of cool. Actually, it was a nice, very pleasant 69 degrees and clear skies at kickoff. It was the absolute opposite of what happened 7 days before. It was the absolute perfect climate for a game, just approaching 70 degrees and clear skies. Everybody was wearing shorts. It was comfortable for them. It was comfortable for the fans. Nobody was bundled up in parkas and bear suits like they were wearing for the other game. And yeah, Miami took care of business, right away. Once again, number 10, Lionel Messi comes out and the things he does are things that other players just do not do. And Peter Vermees, the coach, talked about it afterward, saying that Messi and Suarez, they play on a different level. He's used that phrase now twice in a week, that they play on a different level as other players. They see things, they know the moment. They know when the moment is there, and they seize the moment and they finish. And you see all the time really good, high level, elite players who are in the same exact spot on the field and maybe even receive the same pass or the same cross, and they don't do with it what Lionel Messi and Suarez did in that game last night. So Messi's goal was absolutely beautiful, chest it down. And he chests it down, and then with his left foot, a beautiful volley, just perfect, impossible for the goalkeeper to get, just an incredible shot. So they go ahead 1-0. And then right before halftime, bam, bam, 2 in a row from Tadeo Allende, who now, by the way, has scored 3 goals. He's really proving to be a very lethal winger. He's brand new to the team, but he came from Celta Vigo, from Spain. The guy is a top level player from Argentina, a young guy. So he comes in and scores the second goal. And then from Jordi Alba, really nice cross from him. He just taps it in.
That
Jordi gave
cross
him a
was
perfect.
that cross was amazing. That cross was
That
so. I mean,
cross was amazing.
that was
I could have
pinpoint.
scored. Well, maybe not. Maybe I couldn't have scored,
Yeah,
but
a lot of
it was
yeah.
a
That was
perfect.
beautiful.
It was a perfect cross and then a perfect tap.
Yep.
Allende just had his foot at the exact position at the right time. Perfect timing to tap it in. They make it 2-0. And then Luis Suarez, with
Yeah.
38 years old, older than Messi, 38 years old, what he did, this acrobatic, you know,
Yeah.
shot to be diving and to score at that angle. He was at a very
Yeah.
difficult angle.
I was gonna say, think about the athleticism it takes too on the run like that, diving, and then he has to the way he shot, the way he kicked that, turning his foot just enough for that to because the goalkeeper was stretched out, and most of the time anyone will stop that, but the way he positioned his foot on the fly, everything on that on the run that way, perfect shot.
Yeah, if you look at miamiherald.com, or you look at or our newspaper, if you look at miamiherald.com at our story in our photo gallery, and also I embedded in the story itself, our photographer had a great shot of Luis Suarez's shot. You can see the position that he's in. And when you see the position that he's in when he strikes the ball, you just say, how does a human being do that? And a 38-year-old human being with bad knees,
Yeah.
he's he's really incredible. And by the way, he also provided the assist on Messi's goal. So Messi got that goal started, his first goal. Messi saw Suarez running, streaking down the left side. Messi passes it to Suarez, who, they have telepathy. We've talked about it. Messi sees Suarez on the run, knows exactly the pace at which Suarez is running. So he knows exactly where to deliver the ball. Suarez gets the ball, of course, in the perfect place. And then he knows exactly what Messi's going to do, the telepathy. And then, so he passes it back to Messi and Messi scores. So it was Messi, Suarez, Messi on the first goal. Then Jordi provides the assist on the second goal. And then Suarez on the third. I mean, these Barcelona guys, their experience really, really shows. I mean, a lot of other players played very well last night. It was a good game for the whole team. It really was. But these Barcelona players, we need to really enjoy them while they're here and while they're on this team, because they do
Yeah.
things. And Vermees talked about it, and every opposing coach talks about it, that you cannot make a game plan for those guys, particularly Messi and Suarez. It's very difficult to defend them just because they do things that other players don't do.
They are world class for a reason, and they're legends for a reason. And the amazing part is that they're doing it at the point in their careers that they're doing it. And like you said, they're showing why. They're showing evidence as to why. And a little shout out, by the way, you were talking about that photo. I just looked it up. I'm going to use it with our story that goes with the show. Uh, Shout out to Matthias Ochner, who our photographer, who comes up with those amazing images and is the one who pretty much shoots all the home games for us at these Inter
He
Miami
is
games for the most part.
unbelievable. For
Yeah.
any of you who have not gone to the photo galleries of every one of my game stories, you are missing out, because Matthias Ochner and also David Santiago, who's our other photographer, but Matthias is there all the time. He's our soccer photographer. And the photos he gets, he is an award-winning sports photographer. The shots that he gets of these players are, I mean, to me, it's the best soccer photography that, definitely that I see in
Yeah.
this country anyway. Um, he takes some amazing pictures. So I urge you guys to go on our website. We publish the photo galleries on their own, and we also publish them within my stories. If you just go and check photo gallery of these games, you will see some incredible shots of Messi, of Suarez, of everybody, and also some things that happen on the sideline and pregame. And he really has a great eye for the sport, and he's an incredible photographer. So
Yeah.
major shout out to Matthias Ochner today.
And Michelle Paluca did well. He got a couple. He had a couple key stops early. We saw that
Yes,
and drew the praise of Mascherano. Not quite Bibe here though, but yeah, the mop was in full effect.
he has the mop. He has the mop, although it didn't even keep him warm enough in Kansas City. He needed a
No,
gorrito, but he needed a little hat. But
don't blame him.
anyway, no, he did. He looked good. He looked good for his first game, and he has not played in several months because he
Yeah,
left his other team and he was in negotiations that took longer than expected with Inter Miami. So he had just been training on his own. He only joined the team's training session about 2 weeks ago. So, for him to come out and have the game he did it's very promising. He really did play well. He had a block at close range that was very impressive, and he played very well. And yes, Mascherano definitely praised him. We also spoke to Ian Frey, and we spoke to Jordi Alba about the game last night and about Messi and Mascherano and other things. So why don't we go straight to the video? Let's start with Ian Frey.
Ian, you had time to enjoy and saw the first goal of Messi because it was on the right side of the field.
It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. I was like, I'm not in shock, but it's like just to see it when you're on the same field, it's like, it's unbelievable.
When he controlled the ball with his chest, you said, okay, it's goal.
He's scoring, yeah, because he waited so patiently for it to come down and then he hit it sweet right in the corner. Now, it's just amazing.
With Cello out for who knows how much time,
Yeah.
it's a good opportunity for you to get minutes. Obviously, make your case. I mean, what are you looking to show during these distal of
I'm just going to show who I am. I know I'm a confident player. I know I can do a lot more than I've done in these past 2 games. I've had some sloppy mistakes that are not usual to me. I'm going to get rid of those just the first 2 games. I'm excited to show a lot more. I have a lot more to show.
Yeah, you mentioned Mascherano. Is he the type of coach that is approachable for you guys? The type of coach that you can actually have a conversation?
Yeah. He actually speaks. He's fluent in English. We do our team meetings and he does English and Spanish, which is pretty impressive. And yeah, it's great. I feel free to go up to talk to him whenever I want. He comes to me and talks to all the young guys, so it's good. Really approachable guy. Yeah. Thank you guys. Have a good night, guys.
I love that even though
Yeah,
you're a
that's-
pro, I love that even though you're a pro on that level, you could still react like a little kid watching Messi.
Yes, and Ian Frey, all of them. I mean, we're amazed watching it on TV. They're amazed watching it as a teammate on the field with him. And again, they've seen a lot of good players, but even Ian Frey, you saw, like you said, he looked like a little kid. He looked like a fan saying, basically like crazy, unbelievable what he does, and that he knew he was going to score the minute he chested it down. He knew he was going to score. And then Ian Frey was asked about, what does he want to show now that Wigan is injured right now, that he got injured in the last game. So Ian Frey is going to get an opportunity there to play right back. Ian Frey can play right back. He can play center back. He's very versatile. And it's so nice to see him out there because, as you recall, he's had 4 knee surgeries, which is just incredible. Who has 4 knee surgeries and continues to play? Ian Frey is an incredibly strong guy. And so he's going to have an opportunity now to show what he can do in the absence of Wigan. As long as Wigan is out with a muscle injury, we don't know if it's a hamstring or some kind of muscular injury. Those take a little time to heal, and Ian Frey is going to get an opportunity. And then he also touched on the fact that Mascherano, as a coach, is very approachable, and also that he speaks English, which that is different from Tata. I thought Tata was a great coach. I've said it before. I think he did a terrific job. I wouldn't have fired him personally. I thought he did a good job. But I will say Mascherano, so far, first of all, the defense does look more organized. I will say that the defense looks more organized, and that is his specialty. And you look and see that, yesterday, KC scored 1 goal, but it was off a deflection. It deflected off actually Peluca's shoulder. But that was their only goal, was off a deflection. They were able to shut out Kansas City on the road. The defense has looked improved under Mascherano. And the other thing is he does speak English, and he speaks pretty good English. He played at Liverpool. He speaks good English. And so that helps him, I think, with being able to communicate with the players on the team. There aren't too many, but for the few who don't speak Spanish, and also with the media, he's able to answer questions at the press conference in English, which is something that Tata did not do. All the press conferences were 100% in Spanish. Mascherano does welcome questions in English, and so the Anglo reporters are able to ask him questions in English, and he answers in English. And so, for fans who don't speak Spanish, they'll be able to hear the coach's voice in English. And I think that's probably a good. I think that's a plus.
Yeah.
And now we're going to go back to Spanish,
Jordi.
and we're going to hear from Jordi Alba en español. Vamos, Jordi.
Bien, como siempre, ¿no? No voy a descubrir nada. Al final es un jugador importantísimo, para mí el mejor del mundo y de la historia, y al final es un privilegio. Cada año creo que al final pues va cumpliendo años como todo el mundo, pero sigue demostrando que es el mejor y que cada acción que él toca el balón es peligro, ¿no? de gol, ya sea con goles o asistencias, y bueno, ya te digo, yo tengo la suerte de prácticamente toda mi carrera haberla jugado con él, y es un privilegio.
Well, what he said is, again, he was asked about Messi, and he said, what can I say? I mean, the guy is the best of all time. I've had the privilege. He said it's been a privilege to play alongside him almost my entire career. And, that he just really feels honored and privileged to be able to be a teammate and see the things that Messi does. It's like nothing surprises him because he's seen it all. And by the way, going back to Jordi and Alba, Suarez, and Busquets, other than Jordi, the other 3 came off last night. They got a little bit of rest at the end of the game. And Mascherano was asked about it, and he said, look, these guys, they have to understand we're trying to talk to them. And I know Tata tried too, but maybe Mascherano will get through to them too, that he said, we're talking to them that they have to rest. When they can get rest, they need to rest. We know that they want to play all the time, especially Messi. He never wants to leave a game. He loves to play 90 minutes, 105 minutes. He never wants to come off the field. Once he's on the field, he likes to stay on until the final whistle, which is an incredible characteristic he has. But this is a very, very, very long season, as we've mentioned, with MLS, with Champions Cup, then Club World Cup coming up in the summer, then Leagues Cup later in the summer. They want to, they want to go far in the MLS playoffs this year. It's
Right.
a very long season. We are still in February,
We barely
and this
started.
goes on until December.
Yeah.
The MLS Cup is the first weekend of December. We are only in February. We're talking about a very, very long season. And so Mascherano said, we need to get these guys a little bit of rest whenever we can. And if there comes a time in the season when we don't need them at all for a particular game, that will be a great bonus. But for now, we need them to at least be judicious about taking a little bit of time off when they can.
Yeah, and there are more rigors that come with success, as we know, because now look at this. Now they win, they advance, 2 more games coming. Now they're playing this team Cavalier March 6th at home, then March 13th, they got to go to Jamaica. So it's another, and then within that, playing at Houston this coming Sunday. They have other MLS matches coming in. So if they continue to not only play these games, but have success in these tournaments, I mean, we're barely even starting this Champions Cup. We're only in the round of 16. And so,
yeah, I mean,
they're
it's
going
a
to have to
lot.
figure out how to handle it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot what they're doing. I mean, they're basically juggling 2 tournaments right now at the same time and playing every 3 to 4 days. They're not getting a full week in between games, which is what's customary and normal in MLS. So, they are now, they're going to have to play on Sunday at Houston. They do have a few days now before the game Sunday at Houston, but then, they're going to turn around and have the game on the 6th. And then they're going to have, again, then they have to go to Jamaica. They're flying to another country to play this game. And then if they continue to move on, they could end up having to go to Mexico again, to play another team.
Yeah.
This is a CONCACAF championship. So there are going to be trips, international trips that are going to be squeezed in between the MLS season.
Do we know how many, beyond the round of 16, how many more rounds are set up this way where it's the 2-leg aggregate system, or do they get to the point where it's the single elimination once it gets deeper into the Champions Cup, or is that something I guess we should
I need to look that up.
Okay.
I remember last year it got single elimination. I don't know
Toward
if
the
it was
end.
in the semis. Toward the end, it was single elimination.
Well, here's
so.
here's the thing too. I mean, I
Or
know we're
not,
saying
maybe not. It may not be. It may be
be all the way to the end.
Through.
Okay.
I'm going to look it up.
Kind of like
Yeah, I need to
UEFA,
look
kind of like the
that up.
UEFA Champions League, sort of.
It may be all the way. I think it may be
Yeah.
all the way because I'm thinking about Columbus.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about Columbus had to play Monterrey, and didn't they play them home and away? I
Yeah.
think they did.
The thing is,
either
I know it's a situation that they do have to handle, but it's kind of, I mean, we say it. I mean, we're I guess here in the US they're not as used to it, but in Europe that's how they do it. I mean, they play in the Premier League game, then they're playing in the FA Cup, they're playing, I mean, they're constantly, so these guys, especially these high-level players like Messi and Suarez and so forth, they've gone through this. I mean, I get it. They're in their late 30s now, but they have gone through this. They know what it takes to kind of pace themselves, heal up properly. I think it's more than anything as an organization, they need to continue to figure out how to handle this and how to properly keep these guys in tip-top form to be able to handle, because it feels longer and longer of a season, and we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg right now. This is literally just starting right now. There's still 4 more potential rounds, call them. What aggregate or not.
And it may be aggregate. I'm going to look it up and we'll tell you guys. I mean, I'll write about it. And but the difference though, the difference I will say with all Champions League and UEFA and all the things that they do within Europe, the travel distances in the United States
True.
are really long
That's the
for
difference.
all the in the MLS. The games
Yeah.
the games that they're playing within their league, when you're in England or you're in Spain and you're playing
Right.
in La Liga or you're in EPL, you are not going to Kansas City to play in Sub-Zero. And then,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
California and Canada and, you know, here in the United States, MLS, the travel is cross country and across 3 time zones.
Right.
They
Yeah,
are
you're not
crossing
doing
3 time zones.
you're not doing little puddle jumps from Manchester to Liverpool or something like that. You're doing
Exactly. You're
longer
not crossing
trips.
3 time zones. You're not
Yeah.
crossing 3 time zones. You're not crossing different climate changes and all the things. MLS does. There are some real challenges that are different. And Javier Mascherano, this is his first time dealing with all of this because he has no experience in MLS. So he has a lot of experience in Europe. He has experience with the national team of Argentina, but he's never done the locuras that they do here in MLS of traveling across the country and traveling 3 time zones. This is something that he's going to have to get used to, and that the new players have to get used to. Now, Messi and Suarez, Busquets and Alba, they've already done it now. This is now their second full season, so they've gotten a little accustomed to all the craziness. But the new guys that they brought in are all going to have to get adjusted to that.
Yep. Well, and looking ahead, before we look ahead, I wanted to talk to you about this. You had some injury updates on a few of these key guys, but especially Oscar Ustadi. Another guy that I don't care how old he might be. He is
38.
He is playing great. He is playing great, and he is earning this starting role right now. Drake Callender. We love him. He's coming back from injury. He's trying to work his way back from injury, but this is an interesting situation because Ustadi is playing great right now in goal.
He really is. You know, it's kind of an opposite of what happened. Drake Callender got this job initially because Nick Marsman got injured. Nick Marsman was the Dutch veteran goalie in his late 30s. He was the veteran guy, and Drake was a young guy. And he got the job because Nick Marsman was injured. And guess what? Drake never left the goal after that. And Nick Marsman lost his job and ended up leaving the club altogether because Drake did such a good job in his absence that they kept Drake as the starting keeper. Now, Drake is finding himself on the opposite side of that story. He's injured, and all of a sudden, Ustadi, who's supposed to be the backup, the 38-year-old stopgap Messi's friend, who came in at the end of last season because another guy was injured, CJ Dos Santos was injured. So they brought in Ustadi as a last-minute stopgap, just to have a backup to the backup who was injured. And he is now starting and playing very well. He has played very well in all 3 games. He's made key stops. He really does seem to be doing a very good job. He is 38 years old. And he just signed a contract extension. He was only supposed to be here for 4 months, because CJ Dos Santos got injured. They brought him in on a little 4-month temporary contract, and now they've signed him for the season. And now Drake, we asked Mascherano again last night, what is going on with Drake? Because it didn't seem like it was a serious injury and he's still out. It was an adductor pull. But he says that they are eagerly awaiting his return. But Drake has said that he's just not ready. He does not feel quite ready, and he doesn't want to take any risk, and they don't want to push him. He said, we don't ever want to push a player. We don't ever want to make a player play when they don't feel ready. And he said, some players take longer, some players take shorter, and we're going to respect, his wishes, and that he said that he's not quite ready to come back yet. In the meantime, every game that Ustadi plays is going to be harder and harder. Drake is not going to come back and just be given the starting job again just because he is the co-captain of the team still. He's still officially the co-captain of the team, but he hasn't played at all during preseason. So
although with this rigorous schedule, you do want to have Drake there, even if he were technically the number 2 goalie to spell Ustadi, and because Ustadi's not going to start every single game potentially especially if they continue to play like this at an every 3 or 4 day pace. You want to have that relief at that position too. But yeah, it's one of those injuries that unfortunately it's like an annoying injury to get over. It's one of those that just takes time to heal, and hopefully Drake can come back soon. and a few other guys too that are still dealing with stuff. Yannick Bright, Fafa Picault,
Yep.
Wygant you mentioned earlier. I mean, anything on those guys?
Yeah, Fafa and Weigand have muscular injuries, so muscle pulls. Again, muscle pulls are tricky, whether it's hamstring, whether it's groin, adductor. Those take a little while, especially you're a soccer player. There's a lot of change of direction when they're running, they sprint, so they have to be careful. So those two guys is they're calling it day to day. And then Yannick Bright got a cut. He got cut, I guess, with a cleat or something in practice. He got cut above his knee. And so they're just waiting for that cut to heal. They don't want it to get infected. So they're just waiting for that cut to heal. So that's the deal with him. So we'll see who's available. We'll know more on Friday. The next time we get to talk to Masha will be Friday. That'll be before the game on Sunday at Houston.
Yeah. Shell Energy Stadium in Houston, Sunday night, 7:00 start. Their next MLS game as Inter Miami tries to get in the win column on the MLS side of things. And then after that, as we said before, March 6th, the first leg of this second round of 16 in the Champions Cup with Cavalier. The Houston Dynamo coming off an opening loss to FC Dallas, but this was one of those teams that I think was talked about a little bit, maybe not amongst the elite favorites going into the season, but a team that some people thought could make noise. So it could be a good test for Inter Miami in their second MLS match.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a team that, they have good players, they have quality players. And they're kind of a middle of the pack, they're predicted sort of a middle of the pack team that could make noise. And again, Miami has had to play so much already, and they're dealing with all of this stuff and with these injuries. So it'll be interesting for me to see what lineup comes out there. They do want to win. I mean, they know that winning Supporter Shield is not as important as winning MLS Cup. So it's not like they have to win every MLS game. On the other hand, right now, after just a tie in their first game, they're Inter Miami's in the middle of the table. They don't want to stay in the middle of the table. They want to be at the top of the table. They want to be at the head of the table. They want to be at the head of the table. So they're going to want to win. They don't want to have a loss or a tie to open up their season with 2 games with no wins. That's going to be a big disappointment. So we'll see what happens on Sunday.
And another road trip.
And another road trip.
And not next door either. Another something else that involves at least a 2.5 hour flight to get out there and all that stuff and then back. Like you're saying, not puddle jumps when you're just traveling all over Spain or you're traveling all over, England or Italy. These are real road trips that these team has to deal with, but they're dealing, and we'll see how they do. As we always do, we'll bring it all to you. Michelle will bring it all to you in writing, and Matthias in well, not in this case, but when they get back home, Matthias and David in photography and so on. And we will recap everything here on the next episode of Inside Inter Miami. As always, thank you for watching us. Remember, you can catch us on MiamiHerald.com or on YouTube. And if you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, all those favorite podcatchers of yours, until next week, Michelle pointing to the sky as we bring you more episodes of Inside Inter Miami. Thanks for joining us. Have a good weekend, everybody.